Hi, welcome to CAFMA Connect. I, again, am your host, Training Chief Eric Merrill, and with me is not Russ Smith. I'm sorry. You're twice as tall as him, but about half the width.
It's true.
But I do have a whole new group of recruits with us today. So we have Engine Company 2 with us today. So what you don't see out there is there are two more recruit candidates sitting behind John, very awkwardly, and awaiting their turn to sit at the microphone. So right now they're rehearsing what they're going to say. So we will get going because I'm excited to see what John has to say. But John, will you please introduce yourself to the rest of CAFMA and all our stakeholders?
Absolutely. My name's John Craik. I'm obviously a CAFMA recruit. I'm originally from Shelby Township, Michigan, and getting ready to graduate here in about a week from the academy.
That's right. So it's coming up. So a couple of things before we really get into who John is I want to just offer up an open invitation. If anybody is not busy next Thursday night, which I know not busy, the week of Christmas, it seems like a joke, but if anybody wants to come by next Thursday night to CARTA at 9601 East Valley Road and watch the graduation of all of our recruits, you're more than welcome. I also believe that we entice people with cookies and Kool-Aid or lemonade or something to that effect. Is that right, Kath? What do you have on the agenda?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we'll feed you.
We'll feed people. We'll take care of you. We'll try to make it fast and get everybody out of there. But it'll be a really exciting time to see you and all of your classmates graduate. And the other most important part, though, is that your families will be there. And so we'll talk a little bit with these recruits about what's going to happen in the next couple weeks. But that open invitation. And then also, probably the biggest news that I have that I'm not going to divulge yet, but if you stick around for the whole podcast, at the end of the podcast, I'm going to make a very cool announcement. So stick around, and then moving on, John, please tell us, why did you want to become a firefighter, and why did you choose CAFMA?
First off, I wanted to become a firefighter. The primary reason was when I was a teenager, I was in a pretty gnarly car wreck. Actually had a TBI. Mm-hmm. And when I started thinking about what I wanted to do with my life following that, the logical answer seemed to be fireman. Yeah. Possibly be somebody that could help out someone like myself in that kind of a situation. Mm-hmm. I've also worked customer service my whole life, so that helped. That's kind of like my personality. I love to help people. And then CAFMA specifically was an opportunity for me to live in what I think to be like the most beautiful part of Arizona or even the country. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned, I'm originally from Michigan. When I moved out here, I did a lot of exploring, Prescott, Payson, Flagstaff, those areas. Mm-hmm. And I just dreamed about being a fireman in one of these areas, and CAFMA gave me the opportunity to do that.
Good. I'm glad we got you first. No offense to our good friends at Payson and Flagstaff, which they're all great chiefs, great people, but we're glad we got you because you're also a great person, and that shows. So your ability for customer service, your affinity for that is very obvious. It was obvious in your oral board, and it was something we talked about the last podcast with the recruits. We talked about culture, and that's what we hired for here at CAFMA. Maybe you don't have the most polished, which you did actually. You had a very polished oral board.
Thank you, Chief.
But there's some people that maybe don't come through the most polished oral board, but their culture and their why really shines. And they can still get a good enough grade on their oral board that they can move on to a Chiefs, and then they end up getting hired. And it's like, oh man, I'm so glad that this worked out because you were such a cultural fit. We really just needed you to get a little more polished answer. So with that information, that's kind of why we brought Engineer Smith in last week to talk about oral boards, because we see so many good people just like you with great character, and especially that come from out of state, that it's like, oh man, we don't want you to waste your time and energy. We want you to get hired. So, what tips would you give somebody to have maybe more of a polished answer?
Sure. What certainly helped me was just department research. Knowing the organization and knowing the culture. I knew going into my round one that the emphasis was on family and growing and being honest in your oral board. I remember a very specific quote from, I think it was an Instagram video I saw. We don't want perfect people, we want character. And that was something that really resonated with me. Mm-hmm. And something I certainly saw after my round one when I felt like it went pretty well. You actually had a couple follow-up questions for me outside of the interview questions just to get to know me a little bit better as a person. And at that point, I was just hooked. I was just super excited. Good. Hopeful to get a Chiefs interview. Obviously, I did. And here we are.
Look at you now.
Yes,
about
sir.
to graduate in about a week and a half.
Can't wait.
Very good. So you said a couple great things, and I just want to end on this with our interview, John.
Sure.
Is you mentioned we don't look for perfect people, and that's absolutely correct in the sense that if you haven't gone through any type of failure in your life, you're probably not a fit for us, in the sense that we really want to see people who have failed in life and have overcame whatever it was that they failed or tripped over, and they're better for it, and then they can articulate that story in an Aura board. So if you're Kyle Lund, like we talked about last week, and you're just squeaky clean, you've never made a mistake in your life, Kyle, he still has a story to tell. But we train for skill, but we hire for culture. And that's something that we really pride ourselves on. And then you've just been a shining example of that. So thank you, John. And I'm so glad that we got you here and on the podcast. But you actually, you weren't nervous at all, minus a little bit of hand tapping. But I think you managed it well.
I always do that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yep. And I'm very excited. And then you're engaged?
I am. Yes, sir.
And do you guys have a wedding date set?
We do.
Okay. Well, we'll announce that on another podcast.
All right.
Yeah, maybe that'll be another announcement that we build up on. So, but anyway, congratulations. I know you've been engaged for a little while now, but super excited for your future here at CAFMA. So, John, if you don't mind following instructions and exiting to your right, and
Absolutely.
then we'll bring Stephanie in.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, buddy.
Yep.
She had a very defeated right before she came to the chair. I hope that was caught on camera. So, welcome to the podcast. Feel free to scoot forward a little bit and then speak into the mic. Hopefully, John had good breath. And sorry he left a little sweat there, but no big deal. So, Stephanie, please tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from and what drives you?
Okay. Name's Stephanie Yoakum.
Scooch up just a little bit closer to the microphone there. Yeah.
Okay. Hi there. My name's Stephanie Yoakum. I actually was born in Phoenix. I spent the first 11 years of my life in Lodi, Ohio. And then I moved back here when I was 12 or so. And then I've pretty much been here ever since. Well, I should say the Valley. I grew up in Buckeye.
Okay.
And then I moved up here 2 years ago for EMT school. And then I loved the area. I love the nature and the fact that it's not 115 all the time.
Yeah.
And so I've been here ever since.
Awesome. So that was, what a great selling point to anybody who's interested in working for CAFMA when it's like, all right, well, hey, it's not 115 right there. That should get us at least 5 to 10 applications.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree.
Awesome. So you spent a little bit of time in Ohio, but one thing that I had to make very clear very early on in meeting you was that you're not an Ohio State Buckeye fan.
No.
So that already right there sent you to a Chiefs Aura board, I think, on my list.
Yeah.
That you could be that resilient living in Ohio and dodge becoming a Buckeye fan. So we have a couple Buckeye fans here at CAFMA between Chief Naminsky and Engineer Horseman. So just duck and dodge those two.
Okay,
You'll be fine.
Of course.
So well, that's great. So you kind of talked about your why, and a little bit of that is your upbringing. Is family close with you? Like as far as the family side of CAFMA, is that something that drew you in?
Yeah, actually it did. So I did all of my EMT ride-alongs on engines. I did one with a couple other agencies, one with each, and then I did, I think, 5 or 6 actually with CAFMA. My first one was at Station 62, and I just loved the, what do you want to call it? Kind of like, I guess the way everybody acts with each other and how everybody, like that family feeling, right? Everybody joked around, but everybody got their work done still. Yeah. And after doing that ride with 62, I was like, that's it. I was like, I want to do all my rides with CAFMA. Yeah. And then so I proceeded to do all of my rides with CAFMA. And then I actually got extremely lucky with my prior job when I was in private EMS. And they gave me the option to co-staff the rescue for you guys. So then I got to live in Station 58 full time. And I think that only sold it that much more. I was there, from sun up to sundown with the guys. I slept in the same station and everything, of course. Yeah. So doing all the chores, all the hard work. And I think just to see the way everybody does all the hard work, but everybody still acts like a family and interacts, that was huge for me.
Oh, so. That's great. See, even more selling points. So you're just basically free marketing is what we're doing.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. So a couple good points that you bring up. So one, you had a history in terms of EMS. Yes. So how did that translate to what you're learning in the academy and how that might translate to when you get on the engine?
I think the biggest thing that I've seen coming from private EMS to, say, the fire academy, and as far as how that translates over, is just being super reliable and accountable, right? Like, if your crew can't rely on you to do, whatever the task may be, whether it's pulling hose or responding to an EMS call or, communicating with IC or whatever it may be, if they can't rely on you and that communication falls short, that's going to cause a whole lot of hiccups. And that same thing for the ambulance, if your medic or your other EMT partner can't rely on you to get the right supplies or to, talk to alarm when you're dispatching and stuff like that, then everything kind of falls short. So I think accountability is the biggest part of it.
Oh man, that's brilliant. And what not better way than you had to have your EMT to get hired here. Yep. And then you immediately got a job with Priority Ambulance, started working in the station. So you really just were baptized very early into the fire service, just very incrementally. But now that translates really well in how your preparation now, because you didn't have your Fire 1 and 2, correct?
No, I did not.
So your preparation was already, it kind of had a foundation because you'd been been through this with preparing for EMT, getting hired with priority. So walk us through a little bit of your process with getting your firefighter 1 and 2 in those first 9 weeks. And then is there any advice you would give to anybody that's wanting to get into the fire service, whether they, don't have their fire 1 and 2 or they do have their fire 1 and 2, like maybe have a conversation with the viewers on what that looks like from your perspective, not having that coming into the academy.
Yeah, of course. I would say for me personally, the first 9 weeks was probably the hardest. I think just a lot of we're out here drilling every day, and I did have a back injury, which had me out for a little while. So now I'm playing catch up with some of that stuff. But the first 9 weeks was just a lot of drilling and a lot of hands-on. And then so we were on our own, of course, to study we had lecture during the day, but we were on our own to study in the evenings on the weekends, make sure we're ready for that 1 and 2 test coming up. So if you weren't drilling, and if you weren't coming in on the weekends to do hands-on stuff, you were studying your book the whole time. That's what I did. I was in my book constantly. Yeah. So I think that's a big thing. The one piece of advice I would give as far as, if you're trying to get hired on with CAFMA, and this could be controversial, especially because you guys don't require the 1 and 2 anymore. Going back, just for me, if I could have got my 1 and 2 beforehand, or if I should have got my 1 and 2 beforehand, I think that would have just set me up a little bit better. I think I was extremely, maybe, I don't want to say stressed, but a little stressed, as far as trying to study all the 1 and 2 stuff and then all the hands-on portion. So if I could have come in with my 1 and 2 already completed, that I think would have helped me quite a bit. So I would recommend getting your 1 and 2 beforehand, if you're able to, of course. Yeah,
and that's not controversial at all. That's actually great advice. And that's something that we've talked about a lot, even on this podcast, is that if you do have that ability, whether it's time, money, energy, we definitely recommend. You're going to probably have a better product coming into the academy.
Yeah,
however,
absolutely.
I would say, though, at week 9, when everybody's testing, everybody now is at an even playing field. So when you trust in the process, you do end at that same spot. But boy, it does make a big difference having your fire 1 and 2 before, because you've kind of seen what's behind door number 1, door number 2. And now it's a little bit more about learning the CAFMA way, or our policies and SOGs, as opposed to everything at one time, because that can be very overwhelming. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. So great advice. And thank you so much. I'm very excited. And when we talk about, you really got baptized in the fire service, when she started out and you had a back injury, well, you're going to have a bad back the rest of your career, and that's all of us. So you've really been baptized into the fire service.
I've heard that quite a bit from a lot of the guys already on the floor, that just expect it from here on out, that it's going to happen. So
it either happens early on or it happens, in week 10 or 11. Either way, it's going to happen. But the nice thing is we have peer fitness trainers. We have all sorts of different avenues for you to heal your back and, try to take care of it for the next 24 years and, 11 and a half months. But the point is take care of your back, take care of your mind, take care of everything. But
absolutely.
Thank you for being on here.
Of course.
I know you're not really excited about the podcast, but I think the next, 10 or 20 times that you come on the podcast, it'll get easier.
I'll just get better and better, of course.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Well, if you would, go ahead and exit on your right, and then I'm going to have Damien come in, and we're going to close this thing out with a really cool message.
Awesome. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. All right. Last but not least, we just had to make sure the bleeding stopped, I think, in his arm. So you've had a few injuries and accidents while you've been in this academy, have you not?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, there's a lot of, I think, blood trails around that we can trace where Damien's been.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So less tears, though, but more blood, yeah. So, and I just want to let the viewers know, not everybody bleeds when they come through the academy. And hopefully nobody bleeds as much as you have so far.
I hope not.
But I would say that's more of a testament to Damien, because he's just a hard worker. You've been a big-time advocate in this academy, because you actually did come in with your Fire 1 and 2, and EMT, and actually most of medic school.
Yes.
And then a history and background in the fire service. So, I mean, you kind of came in with all this, for lack of a better word, ammunition. How did that translate for you in terms of, you already had all this, and then you came in the academy. Can you give some advice or some perspective from your side of how that looked?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing that helped me was just knowing the fundamentals and the basics, but at the same time, having that willingness to learn and listen to your RTOs and really step back and take a rep on how CAFMA operates. I think it was awesome because I learned a lot of new things. Even though I came, from a background in the fire service, I was learning tons and continue to learn tons throughout this career. I think this is kind of a unique opportunity when you join the fire service to really be a lifelong learner throughout your career, throughout your academy, your probationary year, all the way up into the day you retire. You're constantly learning. So I think CAFMA has a lot of opportunity for growth and opportunities to go get more training, as we've talked about before. So I'm excited.
No, that's great. And we're excited to have you. So let's back up just a little bit because you have an incredible background. So will you tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of what motivates you and then why the fire service?
Well, my name's Damian Perano. Originally grew up here in Arizona, Mesa, Arizona, went to high school out here. And I grew up with a father that was in the fire service and my grandfather who served in the United States Marines. And in some way, shape, or form, I knew that I wanted to serve in whatever capacity that could be. So at a very early age, when I was 18, I was trying to figure out life because at 18, you know everything. Yep. I decided to join the United States Air Force into a specific career field of fire protection. So that was kind of where I was getting my feet wet. I feel like I really grew up in the firehouse and seeing that camaraderie, that brother and sisterhood, that family orientation, and just how every day is going to be different. It doesn't matter, this could be the easiest job that you ever had, and 10 seconds later, it can be the hardest job. Yeah. And it can be physically, mentally demanding, but, I think the biggest thing I always fall back on are the people around me. The brothers and sisters that I serve with are really a tribute to why I do what I do. At the same time, I have a family back at home. I got 3 little ones that I love to death. Yeah. And they're a big motivation why I keep grinding throughout this process. I want to do them proud. I want to make them proud. And to wear the uniform, there's just no feeling like it. Really isn't.
No, that's great. So thank you for sharing all that. And there's so much I'd love to unpack, but I'll just stick with this though. First of all, thank you for your service. So how do you feel like your background in the military translated in terms of not just the fire side of things, but the family side or CAFMA thus far in the structure of the academy?
I feel like it translated really well. When I was in the military, we were gone for 8 weeks, sometimes months, depending on deployments, boot camp. So really having a strong base to work off of is very important. Now, CAFMA doesn't require the same amount that the military does, but it does require you to be away. I live in the Valley right now, so I commute to the academy. So, big thanks to my family back at home supporting me. Yes. Big thanks to the RTOs, all the mentors that come through, and really, they're always checking in on me, which is amazing. And seeing how much they care and how much they want to see how well I'm doing, I think is super important. So, I think that's just a tribute to CAFMA. They're family oriented. They want to see you do well. They want to see you succeed. So this is just another great opportunity. And I feel like it helped set me up for success.
Well, that's great. And so you have a support system is what you're saying. Yeah. And it comes in a bunch of different, flavors because you got your family, you have friends, mentors. And it's so helpful to have mentors even in other backgrounds or other organizations and even other career fields because like you said, you're going to be a career constant learner. So to be able to pull from all those different arenas to help you, you've already got a really solid foundation. And I just want to compliment you on that. But your trajectory, again, is sky's the limit. And I think that's like you were kind of alluding to is we have opportunity for growth in all sorts of different shades. And, you're your only limitation at this point, right?
Absolutely.
Well, very good. Well, thank you for sharing all that with us. And we do need to wrap up here in just a little bit, but let's talk about what's going on this week. So what are you guys in the middle of today? What are you guys doing?
Today's our 24-hour day. So we're going to be down at CARTA all day, learning, growing, kind of seeing what it's going to be like to be on shift for 24 hours. We just came through our station rides, which was 10 hours. We got a little taste of it, but today's the real deal. So I'm excited to, struggle and fight and really earn some grit today. And like Chief Merrill would always say, the rent's due every day. So
well, you're going to pay it.
Today is going to be paid. So
I wouldn't even say today. I would say maybe even tonight you might pay it. So
awesome.
Yeah, even when I check out today, I may or may not see you later. So you're in the middle of your 24-hour shift, and you're going to have a ton of fun with that. And then that dovetails into Resiliency Day tomorrow. So we're going to talk about that next week on the podcast. We're going to talk about what happened on Resiliency Day because I don't want to spoil anything. But it may hurt mentally, physically. Stop bleeding, please. Yeah. But I don't think it'll be that bad. I don't think it'll make you bleed. And then next week, you guys graduate. So we're going to have a family night, which is going to be next Wednesday night. So everybody always talks about family, how important family is. And one thing I want to stress even more, though, is that as much as we appreciate our family, we also got to show our family that love. So
Absolutely.
we're inviting all of your family members and the people that support you over to CARTA. We're going to cook for them. We're going to serve food, and they're going to watch you guys perform some of your skills before they go home for the night, and then bring everybody back for your graduation next Thursday night. So we've got a lot of big things coming. We'll cover it all in the next podcast. But I did make a promise, Damien, early on that if you stick through the whole podcast, I'm going to make a really cool announcement. So I think it's time for that announcement. Do we have a drum roll or anything awkward? Or don't tap on the table. I'm just kidding. I knew Kathy would like that one.
Thank
So
you.
our big announcement before we close today is that we are actually going to hire again sooner than we actually anticipated, because I keep saying, hey, in the near future. Well, we now know the near future is going to be applications open January 2nd. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. January 2nd, click on our website, cazfire.gov, and get yourself an application. So applications open January 2nd. They will close February 8th. So you got a little over a month. Don't look at me, John. You've already been hired. You don't have to do this again. But
Just excited, Chief.
okay, very cool. But tell a friend. Bring some of your Michigan people down here and your Ohio people. Bring them all down here. Let's really get something going. But application period is going to be open for a little over a month. So we've been talking about ride-alongs. We've been talking about oral board prep, all this stuff, getting everybody ready. We're very excited to hire some more people and improve our culture. And that happens every time we hire, because you're seeing firsthand the incredible people that we're hiring. So I want to thank Engine 2. And I want to tell everybody, watch and follow on social media, like and subscribe the podcast, everything else that we're putting out there, because it's going to avenue you to all of our applications. And then we're going to do some hiring in February. Our next academy is going to start March 18th. Yes, March 18th is the start of our next academy, and it will graduate June 27th, so right before 4th of July. That's your birthday, Steph? Okay, awesome. So we'll celebrate two things on that day. So thanks for watching. Thank you to Engine 2, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, Chief.
You bet.